some agility drills, some of the speed drills happening right now here, Howard, as Larry Johnson starts to direct some of the linemen through some of their drills. What are we looking at as the scouts and GMs right now try to evaluate these bigger players?
Just want to see them able to move, seeing them be able to bend and get around, not being those waist benders, being able to dip at the knees to get around these dummies. These are drills that these guys have been doing since they showed up at Ohio State. This is something that they're used to, they're accustomed to it. You talk about being able to be in an environment where you're comfortable. This is a lot different than having to be at the combines. They're hearing from Coach Johnson drills that they've done before, as I mentioned. They're in a facility that they're comfortable with. They're around their friends, their supporters. So I expect them to do very well in this type of drill setting.
Obviously, the scouts and GMs are watching as we watch and timing and looking for overall speed. But are there specific technique things that they are looking at based on where a player might project to play at the next level and when they may be taken in the draft?
Well, you want to see Browning here is working at a rush in. That's something. He's a linebacker, but is he one of those guys that can put his hand in the ground? They see what type of functional ability they have here. You talk about Togiai trying to get around. Can he flip those hips to try to get up the field and then change directions at the top?
How well do the scouts and GMs know these guys before they get to Columbus? I mean, if you're a guy like Togiai or Hilliard, who's projected as a 4th or 5th rounder, they're obviously looking at you differently than they would be looking at a guy who is a top 10 or top 15 pick.
They study the tape. And I'm going to tell you, these scouts do a great job of studying all these players and do the best job that they can. And I believe that they put equal time into each player. This has been a difficult year for them because they haven't had that opportunity to be on campus. Usually they're there a couple of times where the first time they may go in and just watch film. Second time they may watch film and also watch the players go out and compete, interview with the coaches. For most of these scouts and GMs and head coaches, this is their first time to be on campus to actually get a great look at these players from a draft standpoint. They've probably seen them as younger players before, but they haven't seen them in a situation where they're going to be draft ready to go.
Well, there's probably no one inside the Woody Hayes Center who knows these players any better than Ryan Day, the Ohio State head coach, standing by now with Joshua Perry.
Coach, thanks for joining us. First off, let's talk about Justin Fields. He ran his 40 already. People are talking about potential times he ran the high 4.3s, low 4.4s. Are you surprised at all by his performance and how speedy he looks out here?
No, I mean, I thought he would break 4.4. I know he wanted to too. He's so competitive, but the bottom line is he's really fast, and once he gets running, really powerful with his legs, and you can see that. He made a lot of plays with his legs this season and last season.
Definitely, but I think the big question is going to be what he looks like in his throwing performance. And you, having experience as a quarterback coach in the NFL, know exactly what to look for in these drills. What's one thing or maybe two things Justin's going to have to do to really show he's ready to take the next step in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, I think that in something like this, you can't overdo it. I mean, it's routes on air, and his body of work speaks more than anything else. But at the same time, the guys want to see what it looks like coming out of his hand, and he's just got to not worry about it. If you miss a throw or two, that's okay. Life's going to go on, and just be himself, because him being himself and just throwing and being confident out there is good enough. But everybody wants to see it for themselves, and some people like certain releases and different things, and that's their prerogative. Justin just needs to be himself.
Definitely. Now, another guy who's out here having a really good day is Baron Browning. We watched him run the 40, looked explosive, looked really good lifting weights in the bench press, and now he's out here doing on-field drills. And he's a guy in his career who kind of came on a little bit later. I think some Ohio State fans were expecting a little bit more from him early on. What type of player is the team that's going to draft Baron Browning getting? Yeah,
I think, like you said, Baron had a great year this year. I thought that he took some huge strides from year 3 to 4. And he can do a lot of things. He can cover in man. He can cover in zone. He can blitz. And he can line up as a defensive end and rush the passer. He's done all of those things. And I think the versatility of that is something that a lot of NFL teams are going to really value. So he's really helping himself today.
Definitely. Appreciate your time, Coach.
All right, Josh.
Interesting to hear from Coach Ryan Day talking about the exact thing, Howard, that you're talking about. Players that can be put into various positions at the next level become so much more valuable if you can be both a linebacker who can cover but also a rush end. If you can be like Wyatt Davis, a guy who can play center or guard, you simply become a more draftable prospect for basically every team on the board.
And that's what Browning brings to the table. That's why it's so important for him to be able to go out and show his versatility, because he can do all those things. He possesses all of those attributes that you want in a player that has the versatility that he has. Talking about putting that hand in the ground, can you get up the field, rush the passer? Can you turn back and drop into coverage? Those are things we've seen him do in the past. We just haven't seen him do it consistently enough, but now's his opportunity to really be able to take that next step, and he's off to a great start today.
I also thought it was interesting, Howard, to hear Ryan Day talk about Justin Fields just having to be himself, and that there are going to be NFL teams that are going to like the way the ball comes out of his hand, his release point. There are going to be NFL teams that want it at a different spot, and I think that's something that the casual fan sometimes forgets. He may simply not fit into what a quarterback coach or a head coach wants at one particular organization, but there may be somebody drafting even ahead of him 2 or 3 slots, and those scouts, those GMs, and that head coach like the way that he throws the ball.
Yeah, the upside to Justin is, to me, what separates him from some of the other quarterbacks that are out there. I know that Trevor Lawrence is, in many regards, going to be the first pick in the draft. But then when you drop down below that and you think about the upside that Justin has, to me, the sky is the limit. So if you can put him into a great situation where you have a great head coach, offensive coordinator, he is going to really thrive in that area. You heard Coach Day talk about just how fast he is when he gets going. He's also a guy, when you look at his build from the waist down, it's important.
Yep.
We talk about guys that have a large derriere that play this game. That's him. Thighs, legs, calves. He's a guy that's not going to be brought down very easily at the next level, and those are also things that are going to be very important to what he can bring to that next team.
First of all, I didn't know you spoke French, so I'm remarkably impressed. But when you look at those measurables and you see the fact that after that 4.4, low 4.4 40, and you consider the fact that Fields is 6'3", he's about 227 right now and could easily get up into the 230s if a team wanted him to be there. As long as he shows what he needs to show throwing the ball later in that individual workout, when you combine that 40 with Ryan Day described it as his body of work and his ability to not just run past people, Howard, but to run over people. And I know a lot of NFL teams don't necessarily want their quarterback doing that, but the game is evolving at the pro level to become more of the college game each and every year.
Right, so if you have a rare quarterback coming up that has rare abilities to extend plays with his legs and be able to use his legs to defeat defenses, you want that guy. There are a lot of guys in this draft that are more pocket guys, and yes, they're athletic, but they're not anywhere near the athleticism that Justin Fields possesses, and I think that's what can catapult him if he goes out and continues to throw the ball well. Does he have some mechanical things he has to continue to work on? Yeah, he does, but that's part of this process. That's where a great situation for him would be able to go in and not necessarily be the day one starter. I know everybody wants to start day one, but you can sit for a year and then be able to take over and learn and really find out where you can get better in your game when you're a pro.
Yeah, and I know Rob Rang has Trey Lance projected as the number 3 pick overall right now. That's San Francisco, but you just described the situation that would be exactly what Justin Fields will be walking into,
Kyle Shanahan.
into San Francisco, and I happen to think that that's a possibility for this young man. The individual workout of Justin Fields coming up next.